Good morning, Matt Waldman. You start out the show laughing hysterically at me. That tells you something, people.
Yeah.
I'm a very amusing man, or I look funny. One or the other. You can take your choice. You can decide for yourself. I'm Bob Harris. He's Matt Waldman. This is the Feel It or Fuck It podcast. And we're going to decide some things in the moment. And some of our decisions might be faulty. It turns out, Matt, as we head through week 7 into week 8, everything we thought we knew every single week, we don't know a damn thing. All right, so let's go ahead and start planting some flags anyway, because that's what our job is. You can find us both at Football Guys. You can also find him at mattwaldman.com. The rookie scouting portfolio is fantastic stuff. I know you all know this already, but if you don't know this, they're living on a cave or on a deserted island somewhere, and you were just rescued. Well, congratulations for that. Also, get the rookie scouting portfolio.
We're envious.
Change your life.
We're envious about that.
We are for sure.
But yeah, you can go
unless you were trapped on an island
out.
with Kyle Brandt, then Matt would be very sad for you. Maybe a little.
Unless you can tackle an angry run, there we go.
Matt Waldman at Football Diehard. We live in those places on the X machine. Denver, Matt, has its 2025 starting running back on the roster right now. Feel it or fuck it.
Fuck it. I think that Javonte Williams obviously is running harder and a little bit better, but he's going to be gone. I don't think they're going to re-sign him, even if he's having moments that look good. Audric Estime is an intriguing back, but I think he's more of a slightly plus version of Samaje Perine. Good footwork, powerful back, seems to have a good feel for creases, but I don't know if he's the every down guy for that team. I think you're going to see them dip into this class of running backs who seem to have some pretty good options to either pair with Estime in a committee or Estime and McLaughlin in another three-headed backfield. Maybe Blake Watson could sneak his way into becoming a little bit more, but nobody picked him up when he got cut and signed back to the practice squad this week. So I think most likely they're drafting somebody else.
So Doug Peterson, who was happy to be on the plane home from London yesterday after a big win over the Patriots, got there in part because Tank Bigsby did exactly what we all hoped Tank Bigsby would do, and we inserted him in the lineup without Travis Etienne on board. He ran 26 times for 118 yards, scored a couple touchdowns. All was well and good, and then after the game, Peterson showed his gratitude by saying, "Oh, man, Travis Etienne's our guy." Actually, he didn't say it like that. I'm just being a dick. I'm a believer when injury happens, you don't replace your position. So he's maintaining that for all intents and purposes, Travis Etienne remains the starter. I think that's probably, true, but that doesn't mean Tank Bigsby won't have a big role. The question is how big, and the question now is this your last week to trade him high?
This is probably the last week, though. I think against Green Bay, if they can keep things point for point with the Packers, which is possible, you may have one more week where you sell high on him. And I think that Bigsby has a decent schedule in his favor towards the end of the season. So if he was your third or fourth running back anyway, or your fifth running back, and you can afford to keep him and have value, and you have a decent team, he might come into play for you later on as a must start as the season ends during the most important weeks. But if you need to sell so that you can fortify the rest of your roster, I would do so, because there's nothing that he did that really impressed me on a high level. The volume is there for him right now, but you can see that D'Ernest Johnson played well too. Bigsby is a powerful back. He runs with good determination, and he can bully safeties who are out of position to make tackles. And that happens on a regular basis with most running backs who get creases up the middle. The problem is that I don't think the Jaguars have the defense to be able to keep Bigsby in enviable situations as a runner. And so that volume may look good for him right now, but Etienne is still the superior pass catcher and superior open field play. And I think that Doug Peterson is just asserting that this is going to be a committee, and we're going to keep it at that.
Feeling that myself, Matt Waldman, and 2 targets on the season, I believe, for Tank Bigsby in the passing game. He has not been that strong opponent. All right, Matt, let's ride. Let's ride. So Russell Wilson like, it turns out, there was like a couple possible outcomes as I saw going to this game. One, Russell Wilson is the same Russell Wilson we saw in Denver, and he's not going to be very inspiring. Two, Russell Wilson was hindered in Denver by an offensive scheme that just wasn't a good fit for him, and all the other baggage that came with it, with the coaching change, with his previous issues there, setting up the office, running the show, all those kind of things. So he throws 3 touchdowns, 264 yards against the Jets defense that has been super stingy up to this point. He was the key to unlocking George Pickens and turning him into the thing we all thought he might be when we drafted him. He ran for a touchdown. He turned 2 interceptions into 14 points. The world is all different in Pittsburgh now. What are we saying about Russell Wilson today? Are we feeling him as that he justified Mike Tomlin's decision? I think this is like the easiest layup in the world.
I think it is too, but I mean, it's funny how, Chris Collinsworth played up the drama on NBC last night about, well, we asked Mike Tomlin, and I don't know if Mike Tomlin knows what he's doing either. Mike's like, I don't know yet. We're not going to see. Well, you know what that is? It's a leader in Mike Tomlin who's living with not knowing the answer yet and being okay with that, which is something that good leaders can do. You don't have to be decisive just for the sake of being decisive. You can say, you know what? We liked what Justin Fields did, but we want to see if we have a quarterback who can elevate this offense to another level. And we can stay competitive with Fields if we need to, but we know what Russ has been in Seattle. And if we get that Russ, we've elevated this team. And I would argue that despite some, slow moments early in the game, he did elevate this team. He had some throws on third down where he wasn't accurate and early on in the game. And even some of the throws that he made to Pickens were underthrown to some extent. But the much talked about moon balls that he throws that gives Pickens time, they're back and they look good, and he can change plays, and he's someone that wins from the pocket better than Fields does. And I think all of those things together are only going to get better as he gets more playing time. And if he did this against the Jets defense, that's a good sign.
This is what I'm feeling. We came into this game. I think the best receiving performance against this defense was Justin Jefferson's, like 15 points. I haven't looked at Pickens' points yet, but I'm guessing he fared reasonably well in that regard. And he wasn't alone. So yeah, there's a lot to like here. First and foremost, it's a reminder that experience matters, I think, in the NFL at the quarterback position, assuming you have some of the other requisite talents that go with it. Russ clearly still has some of those. So yeah, I'm Mike Tomlin, you're fine. And Diana Rossini, from The Athletic, who reported there would be a mutiny if they made this change. The locker room was totally invested. Yeah. So we have reached a new era. You said something drama, right? The TV drama. We have reached a point of the desire to have drama far outweighs the desire to inform the public. And keep that in mind as you're consuming your information, and take it into account, and you're going to have to adjust your strategies going forward, because we've been, I don't want to say like misled in a lot of cases, but we've been we've been not skeptical enough. So let's all start being a little more skeptical, kids, as we set our lineups and we consume the news.
Mike Tomlin allowing a team mutiny? Really?
Like would the team even, like, is that even a consideration under him? I don't know. The man.
I got to say something about this one real quick. Just say this. There was one player that I remember, Chad Spann, who was, who was a running back who played with a number of different NFL teams, and he got to be with the Steelers for a while, and he said that locker room and organization, and it was a while ago, but still it was under Tomlin, was by far the best run organization he had been a part of. The unity in terms of the way that the players approached everyone, new players, and the way they conducted business from the top down was head and shoulders above every team. So the idea of a mutiny because of Russ, and if you notice, like at the end of the game when they interviewed Russell, I've long talked about how the media's piled on Russell Wilson for his personality, or his phony personality, or whatever face he puts on in front of the media and some of his teammates. And you could see that he was a much more subdued less willing to talk. Like that was beaten out of him by the media, and maybe also just realizing that I'm just going to play my game and keep my mouth shut and give people credit. And he gave Justin Fields credit. He was gracious, and then he just was like, when they tried to goad him into saying stuff, he was just like, nope, we're gonna wait.
Honestly, I feel like my "that's right" comment coming into this, and I'm always trying to be a smart ass and have a little fun with things. But I think that was the reasoning behind it is, we had boiled him down to a meme.
Yeah.
Right. And turns out he's more than the meme, and a lot of the things that maybe we were led to believe about him weren't necessarily actual things. And in the right environment, he has some room to grow. But the other side of this coin is it's one game, people. So don't lose your mind. Maybe caught somebody off guard, maybe caught the right circumstances, but definitely something to build on. I think for a team that was 28th in the league in passing, 20th in scoring up to this point, this is a positive step, a step in the positive direction. Just want to, add to this. This defense is a factor with Wilson, right?
Oh, it's an unbelievable factor, because here's the thing. With Justin Fields, you get the big plays, and you could hear Collinsworth talking about, well, there was that play there with Russ just tries to throw the ball, and there was this big hole, and maybe Fields would keep running. There's truth to that. Fields would be the big play factor in that fact. But also Fields loses yardage and creates bad down and distance situations, and you can go to my buy-sell hold against with the Steelers from last week and last week's gut check, and you can see the film that shows where Fields is less predictable and puts his team in bad down and distance situations that Russell Wilson won't. And when you do that, it creates more predictable offense, so that the offense can be a little bit more reliable, and then that helps the defense, because now the defense can play more aggressive. And they can kind of pin their ears back and blitz and dictate terms. The games are, they're not behind early in situations that they shouldn't be. And I think that the defense is a factor with the change to Wilson, in the sense that they knew that their defense is one of the league's best. So why not have a player who we can give a chance to, who might be able to, keep this offense just steady and stable, and at the very worst and at the very best, the passing upside will be exploited more, because Justin Fields can sometimes be a little bit more about Justin Fields unintentionally, not like Kyler Murray, who's all about Kyler Murray. Maybe I'm invoking Kyle Brandt slander on a different player here. Maybe we're more alike than I think. That's scary.
You're the same damn guy.
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna have to change that. But no, seriously, I think that this is one of those things that with Wilson, he gives them a little bit more down and distance play script stability, which just dovetails well with what the defense needs, so that they can dictate terms.
I think Matt Waldman just proved one of the great Harris theories of life is how quick we are to turn into the things we hate. Way to go, Matt Waldman.
There you go.
All right. So for our special listener out there, Calvin Austin will get another chance to become a Russ Wilson favorite this year. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, I feel it. I mean, he was targeted early, and there was a really just bad drop that he caught, and then when he went to the ground, he dropped it on third down. And they tried to get it to him a few more times, and then ended up with a 36-yard catch on a Tyler Lockett-like crossing route that you would see with this offense. But with all the play action, with the way that they're using, different sets, and the way that Wilson is an executor of the game plan, I think you're going to see Austin get a lot more chances in the open field. Because even though Van Jefferson had a score in that game, I would say that Austin is probably weapon number 2 among the wide receivers in this offense, and we're going to see that grow.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. What about Darnell Washington? Saw him get a little work in. What are our thoughts on him?
I think he's still going to continue to grow as a fantasy value, because with Wilson, you can use more 2 tight end sets, because he's able to change plays. He's a little bit more savvy on the conceptual side of the spectrum, and 2 tight end sets are very difficult on defenses. You can put stress on them. So getting Darnell Washington in open space is kind of an additional running back on some of these rollouts and things like that. Helps the run game. It gets the short passing game in order. I think we're going to see more of that with a lot of matchups, so that Washington may be at least a reasonable bye week PPR option on a more consistent basis.
Drake Maye, and this is something I want to discuss a little bit. Is he a better fantasy quarterback than a real quarterback at this point in time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the aggression downfield is nice. You're seeing him do that well. He's certainly a tough player. He's better in the deep game than he is in the intermediate and short game right now. So what you're seeing is that he's getting a lot of his opportunities by volume and a combination of volume and big plays, and he can run a little bit, but his pass placement is not good. And that's something that's kind of why the volume needs to be there. And now that the defense isn't very good in New England either, they've got to throw to stay afloat. And I think that's why Maye is getting some of the volume that you're seeing and the points.
A little running ability and willingness to do that, and the willingness to play hero ball, something that's frowned upon in NFL circles, is not something you should frown upon in fantasy circles.
No, Kyle likes hero ball, right? Doesn't he call it?
I think Kyle is a very smart guy. We all know that.
Yeah,
but
yes, there we go.
But I think so. This is something we should I was on NFL radio last week, and I caused all kinds of trouble when I told them Patrick Mahomes, while clearly the best quarterback in the NFL, is not a good fantasy quarterback, because he's not, or he hasn't been. He can be. Like any given week, any quarterback can spike up. Daniel Jones has had 3 top 10 weeks this year. So there. But also, the last top 10 week for Patrick Mahomes was week 12 last year, at least in the regular season, right? I haven't looked at this week's score yet. Maybe he did a little better. But two things can be true. You can be the best at something and not good at another thing, and vice versa. Yeah. And I know a lot of consternation about Anthony Richardson's play. Okay, I mean, all the criticism is justified right now. Or he's a work in progress. I think giving up on him from a fantasy perspective is unwise, because he still has the same upside that we saw last year. That hasn't evaporated, people. It hasn't gone away. And if that's what you're playing him for, I don't care if he's a good NFL quarterback. He has job security. The Colts believe in him and are working to get him to the future. That's all I care about, right? So in some of these cases where you have a Drake Maye, or you have these players who, like, wow, they're not very good NFL quarterbacks, I don't care. I'm looking for good fantasy quarterbacks on lousy teams that are playing from behind and need to throw the ball, or where the quarterback doesn't have the protection he needs and is forced out of the pocket and runs like crazy. So there. I'm going to get off my soapbox now, if you don't mind. Kayshon Boutte is the best big play threat in New England at this point. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, feel it, because Jalen Polk can't hold on to the ball right now. And some of those throws aren't well placed for him to do so, but he's had some issues with drops.
He's had some issues with drops. Very kind.
Yeah. But and then with Boutte, he's had 2 big plays in the past 2 games. And while he's never been known as a huge speedster, he does have enough acceleration to get past one-on-one coverage and win the ball and track it down. I think that based on the snaps that we're seeing, it may not be as quick of an emergence as we'd like to see, but it is a steady emergence as a factor in that passing game, and I think he's going to become more of one as the weeks move on.
I think that's a fair assessment, Matt Waldman. Let's get into the meat and taters here. Deshaun Watson's Achilles injury, which the confirmation came out this morning. His season is over. We knew that when we saw the injury happen, but now we have it officially on the record. He's choosing between a couple kinds of surgeries. The one that Aaron Rodgers had that would get him back faster, won't get him back this year, but maybe jumpstart his offseason and all that means. And maybe that's the next question. The injury is good for the morale of the Browns. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, I'm totally feeling it as a Browns fan. It's great for the morale of the Browns.
For the fans, yes, but for the Browns.
No, I agree that it's also great for the Browns as an organization, and here's why. If you're a teammate of Deshaun Watson's and you have to deal with the fact that nobody wants him in the city, wants him being the starter, and that they had to actually, manufacture situations for him, they're basically dealing with a shitstorm in the media with him on a constant basis and in public. you don't want to be playing with someone who is a constant distraction with your team, and you also don't want to play with someone who you're wondering if they're in a shell. And I think that fans are good at editorializing things. Media are good at editorializing things. When I see something that says, you can just see the look on his face, and you know for sure that he doesn't really want to play anymore. It's kind of like those people who are the experts who go, that serial killer, I just saw the look in his eyes, and I just knew that he was evil. But you didn't know it when he killed 50 people. I feel
like you're looking in my eyes right now.
Well, I look at your eyes with love, and and maybe that's what the problem is that maybe I'm married to a serial killer. But no, but that's the thing is people editorialize all those things, but we do know that the team is that the city's not behind this, the media is not behind this, the team's constantly hearing it. Now they don't have to hear about it. Now they don't have to wonder why Watson hasn't been the guy that he used to be on the field. And now he did have a nice start to the game.
Efficient.
Yeah, he was efficient at least in a lot of ways. But I think that question's to rest. They can move forward and not have to worry about this stuff. And I think that's ultimately good.
So if the circus has come to town, the quality of the show better be worth the price of admission. If it's only a clown car, you're not going to be happy, and that's right. Pretty much where we've been at here. And
thank you.
That's where it rolls. So there was a little kind of a surprising development. Jameis Winston was declared the inactive, the third emergency quarterback. This was the first home game in a while. Was this just an effort to keep the home field from chanting Jameis after a series?
Yes, because the snowflake-shaped egos of the executives who didn't want to deal with this mess that they incurred with Deshaun Watson, they couldn't handle the chance for Winston. My buddy Alex is right about that one. He's like, how do you say we're going to give Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Robinson-Thompson or
you had it right
Thompson-Robinson. At this point, he's been hit so much, his name's been scrambled, that, you're not putting him over Winston. There's just no way that you would do that if you've watched the tape of these players. So the real issue here is that they knew, and that's why I'm saying the Browns are happy about this, because I'm sure every player on that team was like, you're what? You're benching Winston as the emergency quarterback? Why are we know why that's happening. Because the people up in the boxes don't want to hear a reminder of their failure being chanted throughout the entire game.
And just for the record, DTR injured his finger. He's undergoing testing today. Winston, they haven't said who the starter will be. My guess is it'll be Winston. Does he have enough weapons to deliver fantasy value?
Absolutely, he does. I mean, I think that he'll do a good job with Njoku. I think Cedric Tillman's intriguing. I can't wait to watch that game to see, what he can offer. I think that Jerry Jeudy, if he gets sent to Steve Smith boot camp, he'll either survive or we can get another receiver in there. But I think that there's enough running back receiving talent that can still be able to do the job with Winston. He can make do with what's there. And he's a good downfield thrower. He's aggressive where he needs to be. And maybe he may not be Joe Flacco and what Flacco did down the stretch, but there's a chance that can happen. And with so I think that there is a chance here that he's going to find at least 1 to 2 guys who can be of value, and it'll work out. And that this team will be in better shape now.
I thought it was great seeing the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, give Nick Chubb the 3 shots at the goal line to get that touchdown. It was a smooth move, and glad to see him get it. But did we see enough Sunday to say Nick Chubb is back?
Oh, absolutely. I can't say that for sure. I'd like to say that, but
I think we'd all like to say that, right?
Yeah, we all want to.
If anyone we're rooting more for than Nick Chubb, but it's going to be a little bit of a process.
It's ironic that the Cleveland Browns have probably one of the most beloved players in the league and one of the most hated players in the league, and they just kind of change shifts in that week. And I will not confirm or deny whether or not my dog was chewing on a tendon when that happened. But he does need citizenship training a little bit. But that's we'll say that with Chubb, we need to see more touches. This was more of a getting his feet wet, getting him acclimated, see how his body responds to game conditions and how well he recovers
when the
from
bird
that.
flies into your window, you splash a little water on its face and get it going. There's a little water on his beak.
Yeah.
That was
I did enjoy the spin move. You can see that he still sees the field pretty well.
Right. All that. And yeah, I don't know if just like off topic, but man, Bijan Robinson, I keep forgetting, how good he can be, but then you see him, that balance he has at contact, and you go, oh yeah, that's why we all liked him so much.
I mean, Seattle, that was a fun game just because Seattle over pursued. They did a very good job getting early penetration, but then they didn't have any backside support, and Bijan was getting a chance to put on a show with all the quick movements and the agility that he has to be able to access
got
yardage.
Michael Penix too. You had to be very excited.
I was excited though. They just handed the ball off to him and threw one pass, but that's okay.
All right, 49ers offense, Matt Waldman. Is this unit in trouble?
No. Fuck that. Fuck it. No, they're not in trouble. They lost. They certainly lost Ayuk, but Ayuk may not have actually ever been there this year to begin with. Juwan Jennings will be back, so they'll get Juwan Jennings
back. And Debo will be back.
And Debo,
his 3-snap outing. And so let me put a finer point on this then. So they've struggled mightily in the red zone this year. That's been their big issue.
Yeah.
Some will contend it's because there's no Christian McCaffrey, and some of the shorter passes and the ways they scored in the past inside the red zone are not avenues of opportunity for them, and they've struggled because maybe Brandon Ayuk hasn't got the job done to do it from distance. Do you think, like, if we expected Christian McCaffrey back, say week 10, could you see a major turnaround for this offense?
I think so. I think there's a possibility of that because it just opens up enough for defenses to have to respect him, and especially in a compressed area of the field like that. And when you have like kind of a musical chairs of skill talent working in and out of the lineup the way that they did early on in the season, well, the area that's most difficult to be on the same page with everybody is the red zone. So it would only make sense that if you're having this kind of juggling of personnel in and out of your lineup, that the area that would suffer the most would be the red area.
Right. And I bring up Christian McCaffrey. I don't know that he's going to be back week 10, people. Nobody knows. That seems to be the direction it's going. We don't know what his role will be when he comes back or how up to speed he'll be. Remember, we've seen players at wide receiver who didn't get a full month of August take a little bit of time to get up to speed. Christian McCaffrey hasn't been on a field since July, so keep that in mind as we're setting our expectations and hoping he turns into a league-winning asset. Kareem Hunt, best back in Kansas City, healthy or not?
I feel that. I like Isaac Pacheco. I've always been an Isaac Pacheco
say his name
guy.
Right then.
Did I say Isaac?
You did,
didn't I? Isaiah. Thank you. Isaiah Pacheco.
That's one of my dick moves, is like, saying something nice about somebody but saying their name wrong.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, that's true. Like Daniel Dones, exactly. Who apparently, Malik Neighbors said that look at the Target film because I was open all day. I'm going to be looking at it soon.
Punches,
yeah, I like Malik Neighbors right now. He really doesn't, but he's backed it up, and if you can back it up, we're good. But yeah, Isaiah Pacheco runs hard, but he's like. I think he is the inspiration. Man, we were just hitting Kyle Brandt hard today because Kyle. I think this inspired Kyle Brandt's angry runs, but that was like fluff. He just moves with a kinetic energy with a lot of shake and movement.
Not a lot of nuance.
It's honestly a lot of flash without a lot of substance. And I like Isaiah Pacheco, but you see the runs that people go off about. They're not real power. It's kind of like it was like the whole Saquon Barkley getting slapped on the thigh pad and going 70 yards and then looking at Nick Chubb and bowling over a defensive back with a linebacker on top of him and a safety hitting him, and he's still getting 5. Kareem Hunt's more that style of player. He's not as quick or as fast as Pacheco, not the big play guy, but when you watch him, he bounces off of people, runs through people's faces. He is what they need as a between-the-tackles runner. And his reliability down to get the tough yardage and then also find big creases. He may not break them as long as Pacheco does, but again, down in distance, keeps the game scripts good, and he's making Patrick Mahomes' job much easier.
I agree with that. Let's do a couple here, or a few that only have one right answer, and I know what the answer is. Let's see if you do. Brock Bowers will retain and sustain starter level volume without top weapons in Las Vegas.
He has thus far. I mean, look. I mean, Davante Adams had one foot out the door probably.
He hadn't played for 3 weeks before he traded.
They're scheming plays.
Haven't seen Jacoby Myers for 2 weeks.
Exactly. They're scheming plays for him to get open. He may not have the huge plays that come with having top options surrounding you and the great matchups, but the quick hitting throws, he runs routes like a wide receiver. You can see that on this tape. And as long as Gardner Minshew's giving them a chance to win, even though he may also be giving them reasons to lose at the same time, he's going to find Bowers early and often.
All right, Breece Hall is best open field runner in football.
Yeah, feel that completely. The way he accelerates in and out of cuts is fantastic. The way he sees the field, the burst, the long speed, and then I would say that certainly Saquon Barkley is up there in that range. Jahmyr Gibbs could be up there in that range, but Hall to me is one of the. I'd probably take Hall over all of those backs right now.
You are 2 for 2 on these one-answer questions. So let's give you the last one of these single-answer questions. There is not a feel or fuck it. There's only one answer here, Matt. Jared Goff is better versus pressure in Detroit than he was in L.A. because he's an improved NFL quarterback.
Fuck that. Fuck that. Yeah, that's not true. Jared Goff, if you watch Jared Goff at Cal, he was fantastic versus pressure. Unbelievable versus pressure. Jared Goff wasn't being micromanaged in his ear by Sean McVay.
Wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that Sean McVay was the problem and not the quarterback that he abandoned when he lost his Super Bowl by calling a lame-ass offense against the Patriots?
I think you stated it pretty well. Yeah, I like that. I like how you said. I mean, certainly Goff has gotten better, and he has a much better offensive line.
Right.
But I'm just finished watching that Lions game this week against a very good Robert Flores defense that everyone wrote off Goff because of the pressure that was constantly in his face in that Miami game with Sean McVay in his ear, micromanage everything. Have you ever tried driving with some annoying fuck trying to tell you how to drive?
40 years.
Exactly. I mean, at some point you're going to just, there's some people that can incur an accident. And I would say that Sean McVay was told that Jared Goff couldn't drive, so that's what he thought he had to do. And I think that McVay's a good coach, but I think that was a learning curve, and he was a scapegoat. And now you look at it, and I think Dan Campbell said, you know what? Let's just throw everything at him and see if he's okay. Holy shit, he's good. We don't need a quarterback.
Couple things. Jared Goff is the only quarterback this season to have a perfect completion percentage and a half. He's done it 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times, including Sunday in Minnesota. He was 12 of 12. Also, in their past 4 games, the Lions have scored more touchdowns, 18, than Goff has incompletions, 15.
Yeah. No.
He's playing good football right now.
Yeah.
Last one. This one's a little more open to interpretation. I don't know that I have a hard and fast answer, so I'm going to let you run with it.
Yes, you do.
Marcus Mariota performance. Good scheme, good matchup, or good player?
We're going to cross off good player by starter standards. He had good play. But he's kind of like Gardner Minshew in this, but I think Minshew's a little headier and better. Not a good NFL starter. Does he have a good scheme? Obviously so. And did he have a great matchup? Without a doubt. I think what this question raises, and this is just to make my buddy Bob Harris a little angry, is how much of this scheme, how much of this is is the scheme, and how much of this is Jaden Daniels? Because if Marcus Mariota can walk in and deliver as good of a game as he did, what does that say about
had Jaden Daniels not softened them up
with his ribs? Yeah, with his ribs.
Okay.
But Daniels is obviously a better quarterback. Right. I just think that that may raise some questions as teams get found out, as schemes get found out and game plan for a little bit more. We'll see. And obviously the Panthers defense just as
Panthers
bad.
defense. I mean, that's the key. By the way, my sources tell me that he's fine. My sources are your sources. It's his mom. She told everybody on social media. So further testing today, but the initial X-rays showed no fractures or obvious fractures. The MRI might be a little more revealing. So we'll see what goes. And we'd all love to see him go up against the number 1 overall pick, number 1 versus number 2 this week when the Chicago Bears and the Commanders mix it up.
because that's going to determine who the best quarterback is for sure.
Oh, God, you're so mean-spirited and snarky today.
It's Monday.
I like this side of you. Let's ride.
It's my angry runs. That's what it is.
All right, we're done here today, people. We've done all the damage we can do. We'll be back next Monday to do more damage. In the meantime, you can find both of us at Football Guys throughout the week. Many, many articles. You can find me every morning on the Daily Update podcast. Comes out 5:30 every day. You can find Matt on 39 podcasts right now.
Something like that. I don't think as many as you, but we got our schedules. You can go to Football Guys. You can go to MattWaldmanRSP.com. You can combine those two. We're good. And just don't have a bad burrito. You'll have angry runs like Kyle Brandt.
Oh, that's horrible. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye. Love you. Bye.